Hear from Joel at this time. Please stay with us. Again, we thank you for your patience and your time. We're getting a whole source of information today. Things to live by, things to remember. So put your hands together for Joel.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Earlier on, Pastor McCulley was up here, and I want to thank him first of all for telling me about this event. I'd like you to give Pastor McCulley a round of applause. Now, a lot of people may not know who I am. My name is Joel Powell. That's my real name, not a nickname. It's my real name, Joel Powell. I'm a DJ, recording artist, entrepreneur, and author of that book on that table right there, Black Empowerment and Minority Issues. I'd like to share something with you guys today in regards to everybody's topics everybody was speaking about today. It's funny that everybody's topics, all that information, I discussed that in that book. And the reason why I'm saying this to you guys is because the importance of our culture, the importance of being a black man. I'm still in my 20s, if anybody's wondering how old I am. I'm still in my 20s. I haven't touched the 30s or 40s yet, still in the 20s yet. But it's a reality every day of my life, the stereotype that I have to face. And that stereotype is because of my age, because of where I came from, I'm not gonna amount to anything. A lot of times people look at me and they assume automatically, without me saying anything, that I'm from Jamaica. I don't have to say a word. You're from Jamaica? That's the first thing someone, oh, you're from Jamaica? Everywhere I go, I do something simple. Oh, you're from Jamaica? I have a Jamaican background, but I also have a Trinidadian background. And my ancestor, my family is African, but nobody ever assumes Africa first. It's always Jamaica. And then they work their way down, but nobody says Africa. It's always the first thing I see, oh, you're from Jamaica. And what I say to people is, there's nothing wrong with being from Jamaica. There's nothing wrong with being from Africa, there's nothing wrong with being from anywhere part of the world. But the problem is, people are still judging us based on whatever stereotype that they think you fit in. They look at you, you fit in that profile, so you must be that type of person. So I went on a journey from since I would say about the age of 16 years old. I discovered my inner self, I would say. And I always tell people this, is when I faced a situation where I was stopped by the police in my own neighborhood. And the way the officer spoke to me, the words that he said to me, he's like, oh, people like you don't amount to nothing. And I looked at him, I'm like, at first I wanted to say to him a bunch of derogatory words, but I looked at him and I seen he has the cuffs right here waiting, he has the gun right here waiting. So I'm like, okay, then it's not a good idea. So immediately I said to him, I said to him, listen, you think I'm not going to amount to nothing? I guarantee you I'll be the best you'll ever see in this world. And I walked off. And he stood there looking at me, and he's looking at me, and he's just, like he wanted, and he's like, oh, and he's walked away in the opposite direction, and I kept walking. And that's how I based my life. I killed the stereotype. I killed every stereotype that they try to put upon a black man, I kill it. You're gonna go to jail? I killed that. I have no criminal record. Never been arrested by the police, never broken any law. I killed that. You're not gonna graduate from no school. I was honored by graduating from Humber College, and I was put on the front page of their first business magazine they ever released for the business school department. They put me on the front page. And these accomplishments were accomplishments that the world didn't want me to achieve because of my skin color. And it's unfortunate that because of my skin color, they place those stereotypes against me. But I break them. And I like to tell people that even if you are older than me or younger than me, we can all learn from each other. Because we all have children, we have grandkids, we have nieces and nephews that need to be shown the example that they can become anything they want to become, and their skin color has nothing to do with it. They can break those barriers. You can go up there and achieve anything you set your mind towards. And it's not I'm me saying this to you because I can say it. I've lived it and I'm doing it every single day. So I'm leading by example. Because one of the first things I learned growing up, I came out of Jane and Finch. I grew up not too far from this area. It's an area in Toronto, not too many are familiar with it. And I left Jane and Finch and I moved to an area called Rexdale. And while I was living in Rexdale, half of my classmates right now are dead. I've been to so many funerals with classmates I went to school with, and most of these guys didn't even reach the age of 20 when they lost their life. And most of them, they had parents telling them to do the right thing. That's a scary thing. They had the guidance, but they didn't want to listen to it. They gave in to the stereotypes that they have to sell the drugs to put the money in their pocket. They give in to the North American culture where the only way to say you're living good is to have a wad of money in your hand. The only way to say you have achieved something is to say you're wearing the latest clothes. And if you don't have those things, then chances are you're not doing anything with your life. Right? When I have two nephews, and I tell the two of them, one is 9 and one of the one's 11. I tell the two of them, it's intelligence over ignorance. I said you have to put your intelligence up here over the ignorance of the world. Because if you get yourself in trouble and you get locked up, the only person who's winning is the justice system, not you. Because you're the one who has to go back and work all over again to be the same person you are right now. So save yourself the trouble and don't get yourself into no wrong. That's what I tell the two of them all the time. And they look at me as their uncle and they say, Uncle, they ask me questions about everything. They say, Uncle, how did you do this? How did you do that? How did you do this? How did you do that? And sometimes I say, leave me alone. And I say that to them as a test to see if they're going to walk away. And they don't walk away. They come right back. Uncle, come on, tell me. And I explain to them. I say, listen, when people give you a challenge, don't back down. Don't walk away because I said, leave me alone. I'm saying that to you because the world will put you in a situation for you to back down. I've been placed in situations where my family wasn't supporting me, where friends weren't supporting me. Where just like when you tried, in school, I stood up to implement Black History programs in school. And behind my back, the principal of my school called my mother and said I was creating trouble in the school. But when I was trying to get a Black History program implemented in my middle school, I was in grade 8. I tried to get one in the class. I was listening here all this Canadian history, but it was always Caucasian oriented. I'm like, what, did black people didn't do nothing in Canada? And when I said that, I was immediately a troublemaker. So I know what it's like when you try to initiate change, people are going to put that, oh, he's a troublemaker on you. Or you're not, oh, why don't you just read the book? It's right there in the book. Every book I ever read in school, I never seen nothing in there about black people. Every book was based on, like, Christopher Columbus discovered America. You're hearing all these things about other people doing, but you never hear what the black man did. One time when I was in school and I asked the teacher for the whole class, what did black people do in Canada? She was like, look. I said, yeah, you guys are always putting these books in front of us. What did we do? And she's like, oh, there's interesting books you can go take out. And it wasn't until when I was in college when I did the same thing with a professor. This was a black professor now. Who I said to him, I was in a philosophy class, and I said, listen, everything you're talking about is based on what white people did. Come on, there's something black people must have done. And he's like, why don't you show me what black people did? I know what I did. I brought a documentary about Bob Marley's life. And I brought it to school, and I said, listen, let's watch this documentary about what a black man did. How a black man changed our culture. And when we watched it, a white gentleman in the class came up to me at the end of when we finished watching this documentary. He said to me, I never knew that. I said, you never heard of Bob Marley before? I said, yeah, I heard his music, but I never know he did all these things. I said, well, yes, he did. I said, yes, he did. And the reaction of when he said that to me, he's like, man, bro, I never knew. And from there, I did a presentation in the class a week after about Marcus Garvey. I started talking about about people like Matthew Henson, black Canadian. I started talking about people like Harriet Tubman, and it's a shame that I had to put myself in this situation, and this school wasn't paying me to do that. They weren't paying me to do that. But I did it because I wanted to show my culture that we did something. We contributed to this world. We did a lot of things in this world, and that our history is important. And we can do things, and we can all become more than just the obvious. I'm an entrepreneur. I work for myself. I used to work for people, but I made up my mind I'm going to run my own business. Instead of going out there and getting my book right over there, published to a corporate company out there, I funded it myself. I turned to family and friends and I raised the money to fund my own project myself. Why? Because I wanted to have the ownership of my own work. Too often we give in to what the system wants us to do. It has to be done by their ideologies, by what they say is right. And the funniest thing is we built the world, as someone said earlier on, and we did it for free. But in the same time now, we have to turn around and pay them to give us back the same things that we built. So I said to myself, why am I going to give it to you when I already own it already? Because I gave it to you, so I'm going to take it right back and give it to myself. So I don't need to give it to you anymore. And that's what we need to implement in our thoughts. That's what we need to preach to our children and our youth, the importance of entrepreneurship to develop economic growth and put the dollar back into our community. Instead of giving it out, put it back in and let it flourish. Because that's the only way we will ever be able to see a return on our own works and our own creations for not just our brothers and sisters, but our children, our grandchildren, and our future generations to come. I agree 120% with what you said earlier on, so I can't remember your name, but you spoke earlier on right there in front of me right here, where you stated about if people don't respect African culture and what we did, the generations to come, no matter what we do today, if you cannot build that economy up, people won't respect you. They won't. They won't, because that's the reason why Caucasian people get so much respect for their accomplishments, because they built each other up. The reason why the Chinese get so much respect, because they build each other up. Now we have to do the same. We have to do the same. We have to encourage, not discourage. Don't tell someone they can't make it happen just because you don't think they can make it happen. Guide them towards making it happen so it becomes a reality, because everybody's success will benefit another person in some way, shape, or form. So there's no need to piggyback. There's no need to use somebody. Your time will come. Just give that inspiration, and that inspiration will spread out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joel. Words of wisdom.